Ukrainian forces have captured 21 Russian soldiers in the Dobropilya and Konstantinovka directions of eastern Donetsk region. The operation has been carried out by the 1st Corps of Ukraine's Azov National Guard. Some Russians surrendered voluntarily, while others had to be forced to lay down their arms, the Azov National Guard said. Video footage of the captured Russian soldiers has been shared in social media. The video shows the servicemen introduce themselves. At the end, the servicemen thanked Ukrainian troops for their good treatment. We, the servicemen of the Russian Federation, extend our gratitude to the Ukrainian servicemen for keeping us alive and for treating us in line with the Geneva Convention, one of the soldiers said while speaking on behalf of other hostages. Then the Russian hostages were taken away from the area in a vehicle. Situation remains tense in Donetsk region where Russian troops have been pushing deeper into Pokrovsk and Kupiansk cities. Russia has suffered heavy losses in its war of invasion that is entering its 4th year. Ukrainian troops are holding ground despite Russian offensive. Over 1 million Russian troops have been destroyed since the start of the Hosidolites in 2022, with Russia's daily losses amounting to approximately 1,000 killed or wounded, according to General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Force. A large-scale prisoner exchange -1000 for 1,000 between Ukraine and Russia in May 2025 saw hundreds of soldiers and civilians freed on both sides.
Я, Azov Александр Викторович.
Я, Кашин Сергей Константинович.
Боев Александр Анатольевич.
Тарвердов Абрам Яковлевич.
Лысенко Александр Сергеевич.
Тугол Амбай Елизович. Макарев Олег Владимирович.
Шмелев Евгений Сергеевич. Беляков Сергей Сергеевич.
Я Челянов Кирилл Олегович.
Я Буев Владимир Вячеславович.
Хмелев Александр Юрьевич.
Толмачев Виктор Андреевич.
Соплюзин Александр Алексеевич.
Цветков Иван Борисович.
Меликов Мурат Расимаглович.
Демодорова Максим Михайлович. Кулаков Владислав Викторович.
Соловьев Дмитрий Геннадьевич.
Токарев Илья Николаевич.
Николаев Вячеслав Игоревич.
Мы, военнослужащие армии Российской Федерации, выражаем благодарность украинским военнослужащим за сохраненные жизни и обращение с нами согласно условиям Женевской конвенции.
Vladimir Putin fled from the Russian drones and Ukrainian drones. They built him a special place of his office. So while voters think the president is holding a meeting, from Novo-Ogaryovo is actually in Valdai or Sochi. According to journalists from the Sistema project, the Kremlin dictator held 29 out of 30 meetings from 2024 to 2025 from his office in Valdai. The media dubbed the Valdai residence the most secure, surrounded by 14 air defense systems, 13 of which are Pantsir air defense missile and gun systems. The article cited as an example the March 28, 2018 meeting following the fire at the Zimnyaya Vishnya shopping center. The Kremlin website claimed the event was held in Novo-Ogaryovo, but it was later revealed that the journalists were actually taken to Valdai. 3 days earlier, a fire at the Winter Cherry shopping center in Kemerovo claimed the lives of 60 people, 37 of whom were children. A spontaneous protest in the city lasted for several days. Participants demanded the governor's resignation and accurate information about the death toll. They were outraged that Putin, who had arrived at the scene of the tragedy, went to the governor to hear his apology instead of meeting with the protesters. Why is the king warm? People fumed, outraged by the president's reluctance to address the crowd. Returning from the Siberian cold to familiar warmth, Putin convened that very meeting with officials. Immediately after this meeting, in the same office, Putin received a report on the progress of the investigation into the tragedy from Investigative Committee Chairman Alexander Bastrykin and Health Minister Veronika Skvortsova. The Kremlin website identifies the location as Putin's official residence in Novo-Ogaryovo, a half-hour drive from Moscow. As Sistema has discovered, this is not true. While investigators, rescuers and experts worked in emergency mode, for Putin's comfort, half the cabinet flew to a meeting at his other residence, several hundred kilometers from Moscow, specifically Valdai, where Putin lives with his informal family. A special place of Putin's office was built on the grounds of this residence. The interior is an exact replica of a similar room in Novo-Ogaryovo. Only a few minor details differ, which allowed Sistema to detect the forgery in the photos and video. This meeting is one of several hundred examples in which the Kremlin has presented footage taken in other locations, far from Moscow, as events in Novo-Ogaryovo. Sistema examined hundreds of publications on the Kremlin website over the past 10 years and dozens of hours of the Moscow.Kremlin.Putin program, comparing photos and videos with government procurement documents, building plans and the travel records of state media journalists. It revealed that Putin has at least 3 almost identical offices in 3 different residences, which the Kremlin constantly presents as the office in Novo-Ogaryovo. The article suggests that the relocations could have been caused by Ukrainian armed forces' drone attacks. The Kremlin dictator simply couldn't have deployed air defense systems on the Kremlin towers, demonstrating fear and weakness right in the Russian capital. Sochi also failed the security check, as not only could Vladimir Putin see the sea from his residence there, but Putin could also be spotted from the sea. The final choice was obvious: Valdai. Valdai. Since the beginning of 2025, Putin has stopped using the Novo-Ogaryovo office. Of Putin's 30 public appearances in the beige office between January and the end of September 2025, 29, according to Sistema's analysis, were recorded in the duplicate office in Valdai.